But we know it's hard when there are those out there who don't see you and don't respect you. For example, the onslaught of anti-transgender state laws attacking you and your families is simply wrong. This administration is standing up for you against all these hateful bills.
Now a Disney employee is speaking out against the company, saying a silent majority of employees support the new law that prohibits classroom instruction on sexual orientation and gender identity with children in 3rd grade or younger.
The people of Florida, a lot of Disney cast members, voted for our state legislature. These are duly elected members of the Florida House of Representatives and the Florida Senate who passed this bill, sent it to the governor, and thank God our governor has the backbone to stand up to companies like mine, Disney. There's this saying, squeaky wheel gets the grease, and the small minority within the Walt Disney Company that's part of the LGBT community are screaming the loudest. They're being the loudest, they're being the most vocal.
And Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is standing firm despite the backlash. Watch here.
In the state of Florida, parents have a fundamental role in the education, healthcare, and well-being of their children. We will not move from that. I don't care what corporate media outlets say. I don't care what Hollywood says. I don't care what big corporations say. Here I stand. I'm not backing down.
Judge, in some ways, it feels like President Biden always wants to keep going after Ron DeSantis like it's some proxy war for the 2024 election.
I don't think there's any question that this is a proxy war. They are targeting Ron DeSantis. Look, there are many states that are targeting this very issue. And I want to be clear, it's not the Don't Say Gay law. We talked about this yesterday. This is about parental rights and education. There is not, I read the bill. The word gay is not in the bill. And yet they call it the Don't Say Gay bill. But Biden, you know, with all that strength in the Department of Justice with his winner there, he says he's going to monitor the Florida law to make sure there are no civil rights violations. You tell me there's a civil rights violation when with a 5-year-old to an 8-year-old, no teacher has the right to discuss sex with any child between the ages of 5 and 8. And I don't want him to talk about orientation, gender identity, or anything like that. That's up to the parents. And you know what's amazing, Dana? 52% of the Democrats in Florida agree with DeSantis on this. Yeah. So this is just fundamental garbage on the part of the left. I got to say one more thing. Biden is in support of minors getting gender changes with government support. Now listen to this, including bottom surgery on minors. On minors. He is in support of that. I don't know if the prefrontal lobe is even developed at that point.
Geraldo, we haven't had your thoughts on this topic yet.
Well, my thoughts are in transition. And that wasn't an analogy or a pun.
That's why I laughed, because I knew that it was not intentional.
And I will not dead name you, Geraldo.
But let me just say first that when I see Governor DeSantis, with all due respect, I see presidential ambition oozing out of him. And I just to think that he's passing laws that have to do with educating children really creeps me out. Josh Hawley creeps me out. Ted Cruz creeps me out.
What about actual creeps, though? People that want to talk to kids about sex.
Well, sex education, I think, is very important. Let me make my point, because I think it's very, very poignant. If I do say something, let me rush through it. Right. Christine Jorgensen, I grew up when that was the biggest news. It was the first news of this phenomenon, the transgender, at least to polite society. And she's from the Bronx, so it was a big story locally. And then, of course, 1976, Bruce Jenner becomes the best athlete in the world, and then becomes Caitlyn Jenner, and soon to be our colleague. Delighted to welcome him on board. But it also moved it into the center stage. Still, I was queasy about exactly the point, Judge, that you raised so eloquently, as you usually do, about teaching kids about this stuff. Sadly, my dear niece Elizabeth died a couple of weeks ago, so we had a big funeral. Big funeral, and so you bring in the nieces, the cousins, cousins once removed, and so unbeknownst to me, or maybe it was in the corner of my mind, I have a grandniece and a grandnephew who are both transgender. I had no idea of this.
How old are they?
21 or 20. Well, one's 25-ish. The other.
Okay, wait. What is the point?
But there's a transition process And, it's not just PR is my point.
Okay.
It's not just.
But what Geraldo just talked about and what Biden did, Jesse, is conflating about 20 different issues into one, which is this particular bill and what this particular bill says, which is quite specific. It's not talking about transgender.
Yeah, you don't want a state employee in Florida dragging a 6-year-old through that process that they think they may or may not be going through, Geraldo. And let me tell you, when you're 5, you don't know what you're doing. You're trying not to wet your pants. Joe Biden said this today, which I know he doesn't know what it means. He said the words transgender, non-binary, and gender non-conforming. He doesn't know what those words mean. I barely know what those words mean. The American people I know have no idea what those words mean. And I don't think kindergartners should know what those words mean or do know. Pansexual, transsexual, the difference between a transsexual and transgender. You want a kindergartner being taught by a stranger? Remember, these aren't family members, Geraldo.
This is a stranger. About public health when I was your age.
Public health starts in 5th grade. Why is sexual education starting in kindergarten?
In your school, maybe it does.
No, in public school in Florida, it starts in 5th grade.
Yep.
This is what this is about. And Peter Doocy, our very own stupid son of a bitch, should ask the president, Mr. President, do you feel comfortable with your grandchild learning about, in school, at kindergarten, a man who was born with a or a woman who feels like she has a Absolutely no way. And if the president said yes, that would be a downright
scandal. So you would rather a politician write the agenda than a teacher?
I want the parents to tell their kids what the kids need to know. I don't want a strange state employee
exactly the same
when I'm not in the room describing something that's inappropriate for a 6-year-old.
So, Greg,
you agree with me?
Greg, you can answer this or not, but I'll just make it a point. The left thinks that don't say gay is very clever, right? And they got all the media to say it. But what most people in America hear is parental rights.
Exactly.
That's what sticks.
Letting parents have this conversation as opposed to a teacher on TikTok is not disrespectful to gays or trans people. It's just common sense. I would ask the question, why would you feel so strongly about discussing sex with a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old? If you feel that strongly, then you should do it. Right? If you actually have the guts to do that or you want to do that, go for it. But no one will do it. They just want to make it. They don't want to upset the woke. Right? By the way, this bill is not gay. It's not straight. It's bi. It has bipartisan support. Exactly. So it's like the most bi thing you're ever going to find in politics. And then Biden calls this a political attack. And once again, he can't see like the moral forest for the political trees, right? He instead completely dismisses parental choice, parental rights. This has happened before. Remember, they were called terrorists. He didn't read the bill. It's like the blind embrace that he had for the Fine People hoax and for Whipgate. Remember, somebody comes in and it tells you everything you need to know about this sad presidency. Joe Biden is vacant hardware waiting for someone to insert the software. And unfortunately, the people that are inserting the software are the most woke progressives around. He's an empty vessel. And if they just give him the program and then he spews out those words and he has no idea.
Whipgate?
W-H-I-P? Yes, remember the range for the whips?
Whipgate.
Yeah, that investigation. We're still in the process of that investigation.
You know what else goes with this? They put books in libraries that are basically, for children, that are basically pornographic. You've seen it.
The agenda is set by the local Board of Education anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You would not want a teacher with, like, blue hair pierced all over the face coming to your grandkid and going, you know what, I'm going to tell you about the PP and how you can have a PP and a wee-wee.
All they should say is don't let anyone touch it.
Can I add one other thing to this? The Georgia voting law?
The Georgia, yes.
Okay, that's another example.